Hi guys, Luke here of SimBoxx. This is Sweet Science, brought to you in association with Clint Patrick. Today marks the 31st anniversary of James Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson in sensational fashion in Tokyo, Japan. This fight, this result, epitomises the true underdog story that comes along with boxing, and it comes along once in a generation. This is the ultimate underdog story, the ultimate underdog victory. It's iconic and it still stands the test of time even up until today. This is the kind of result that sent reverberations around the boxing world, around the sporting world. It caught the imagination of everybody. James Buster Douglas, 42-1 underdog. Just over 3 weeks prior to the bout, he lost his mother. He went through that hardship, he overcame that hardship, and that will to win inspired him in the ring in defeating the lineal, undisputed, undefeated heavyweight champion Mike Tyson, who was ranked by the Ring magazine as arguably the pound for pound #1 fighter on the planet at that time, a rarity for heavyweights. The fight, of course, took place in Tokyo, Japan, early hours in the morning to accommodate the American audience. The Tokyo officials had paid around $6 million to ensure the fight was brought over to Japan. Myself and Ewan, as boxing fans, are amazed even to this day. And Ewan, my co-host of the Let's Talk Boxing podcast, which you can check out here, he is going to look at this fight a little bit more in depth and just the iconic nature of the fight and the way it captured his imagination.
February the 11th, 1990, the biggest star in boxing, Mike Tyson, is defending his heavyweight title against 42-1 underdog James Buster Douglas. The fight takes place at 9 a.m. in Tokyo, Japan. From the opening bell, it was clear that this wasn't an ordinary Mike Tyson fight, as Douglas used his height and his reach to take the fight to Tyson, landing combinations and dominating him in grappling exchanges. The challenger used a mixture of powerful uppercuts and chopping right hands to keep the champion at bay, ultimately damaging his left eye. Tyson's corner hadn't fathomed the possibility of him being hurt in the fight and therefore hadn't brought the correct equipment to deal with the swelling. They ended up using a rubber glove full of ice to treat his eye. Spurred on by a dejected-looking Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas pushed forward with even more vigour, putting more power into each shot, trying to stop the champion. The arena was filled with a stunned silence. Nobody had ever believed that Tyson could take such a beating. But then in the 8th round, vintage Tyson, the uppercut, he floored Douglas with a shot that would have knocked most people out. As Douglas rolled over and punched the canvas, you could almost see something bigger than himself willing him to get back to his feet, willing him to fight on against the unstoppable Mike Tyson. Douglas would later claim that it was a promise he made to his late mother that he would stop Mike Tyson, that pushed him on to win, that pushed him on to produce the performance of a lifetime as he got back up from the canvas and wailed on Mike Tyson. Tyson by this point was a spent force, having put the last of his energy reserves into the big uppercut. His eye was swollen completely shut and he didn't know what to do. In the 10th round, Douglas unleashed, throwing a combination that would floor Mike Tyson for the first time in his career. Douglas had done the impossible. He had floored the juggernaut. He had stopped the reign of the baddest man on the planet. As Tyson scrambled round on the floor looking for his gum shield, Buster Douglas had completed his dreams. The biggest upset in boxing history.
Ringside on that amazing morning in Japan was Evander Holyfield. The plan was for Mike Tyson to take on the #1 contender in Evander Holyfield. James Buster Douglas was nothing more than a stepping stone to that fight. It was not to happen for a number of years, and when the fight did eventually happen, it wasn't the undefeated, undisputed Mike Tyson going in against Evander Holyfield. Who knows what would have happened had Mike Tyson stepped into the ring with Evander Holyfield in 1990. As it was, James Buster Douglas would go on to fight Evander Holyfield, and he lost to Evander Holyfield, and he would never ever recapture the glory he captured that night in Tokyo. This, for me, is the greatest sporting upset of all time. You can rank it up there alongside the likes of Leon Spinks defeating Muhammad Ali in only his 8th professional fight. You could rank it up there with Leicester City winning the Premiership over in the UK. This is the barometer of which all other sporting upsets is compared to. Let us know in the comments below what you truly think is the greatest sporting upset of all time. Does James Buster Douglas's knockout of Mike Tyson rank higher than maybe Andy Ruiz knocking out Anthony Joshua in 2019? Let us know in those comments. Let us know on our social media channels. Check us out on Instagram, on Twitter. Let us know. because this for me is an iconic moment in sporting history. Guys, thanks for joining us on the Sweet Science today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications,